بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، نحمده ونشكره ونستعينه ونستهديه ونتوب إليه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له، ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، نحمده ونشكره ونستعينه ونستهديه ونتوب إليه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له، ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the title of my khutbah today is Preparing for Ramadan. You know, today is the 20th of Sha'ban. We have about 10 days more before Ramadan. Naturally, people will normally prepare for important occasions and also when they are expecting important guests. The extent of preparation usually depends on the importance of the occasion and of the guest. Certainly, we know that Ramadan is a very, very important occasion. It's about the most popular month known throughout the world. You know, many people may not know the other remaining months of Islam, but Ramadan is very, very popular because Allah has chosen it and made it so. You might think that, well, I've been fasting since as long as I can remember, so what is the importance of preparing? It is important to remind us that actually in Islam, there is a sunnah of preparation. You know, tajheez. There's a sunnah of preparation in everything. Every good deed that we have to do, we have to prepare well for it. Even the salawat you want to pray, your preparation starts when you want to make your wudu. You do your wudu well before you come into the salah. And you find many ayat in the Quran in relation to ibadah. For example, in relation to hajj, when Allah talks about hajj, Allah says, وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ تَقْوَى وَاتَّقُونِ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Allah says you are going on a journey, تَزَوَّدُوا, make provisions, prepare. And the best of preparations is taqwa. And this is for those who actually are reflective. You know, even in wartime, if you look in the Quran, even though Allah had promised the Muslims that He is behind them, He will give them victory, yet Allah tells the believers, وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. Prepare for them well, whatever strength that you can have. Allah didn't say, don't worry, I'm behind you, you will win anyway. No. Allah says we should prepare for any good deed that we want to do in order to benefit from it. In the Sunnah, look at the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After he received permission from Allah to do the hijrah, the Prophet didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, let's go on the hijrah. The Prophet strategized, they prepared. The camel that they will use, you know, survey of the road that they will pass. For many days, you know, the Prophet made arrangement for this before he started. Therefore, it is really very, very important for us. If you look in the deeds of the Salaf al-Salihin, it is recorded that some of the Salaf, you know, they will pray to Allah after they have finished Ramadan. They will pray to Allah 6 months after the finishing of Ramadan for Allah to accept it from them. Then after that, they will use 5 months, the following 5 months, to prepare for the next Ramadan. You find this in books, you know, of Sirah of the Salaf Salihin. Now, for us to prepare well for Ramadan, we need to appreciate it. We should not take it for granted. We know it is a pillar of Islam and it is an obligation that comes once in a year. You know, when you want to do it, you try and do it better than you did the one last year. Because, you know, you cannot do Ramadan now and just take it for granted. And say, no, okay, if I have any mistake, I will do it next month. No, it is like Hajj. It has its time. If you go for Hajj, do it well. Because if you don't do it well and you lose it, there's no other time until another Hajj comes. And who knows whether you still be alive before another Hajj comes. And this is why it is important for us to know the importance of Ramadan. In an hadith narrated by Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu قال لما حضر Ramadan, he says when Ramadan approached like this, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet said to the Sahaba, أتاكم رمضان شهر مبارك, Ramadan has come to you now, it is a blessed month. فرض الله عز وجل عليكم صيامه, Allah has made the fasting of it obligatory for you. تفتح فيه أبواب السماء, the doors of heavens will open during Ramadan. وتغلق فيه أبواب الجحيم, and the doors of hellfire will be closed. وتغل فيه مردة الشياطين, and all the shayateen will be tied in chains. Allah says, and the Prophet said, لِلَّهِ فِيهِ لَيْلَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ. You should know, in it there is a night which is better than 1,000 nights. مَنْ هُرِمَ خَيْرَهُ فَقَدْ هُرِمَ. Anybody who is denied the goodness of Ramadan has been denied all goodness. So if you know that this is what Ramadan is like, you prepare properly for it in order to be able to gain all the benefits that you can be able to get in it. You know, we should aim at making our Ramadan this year better than the Ramadan last year. You know, what we know mostly about Ramadan, when we say we want to prepare, a lot of the people only think about the fast and food. How do we prepare for it? Even though the major obligation in Ramadan is fasting, but there are a lot of acts of ibadah, a lot of good deeds, you know, that can accompany our fasting to make us benefit a lot, to earn all the goodnesses. Now, if you know all these, if you know all those goodness as reflected in the ayatul Sawm, you know, if you look in Quran chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 183 to 187, these are the ayats of Sawm. If you look at it properly, you'll be able to see that Allah, apart from fasting, apart from just not eating and drinking, Allah mentions a lot of other goods in there, good deeds in there, which we can actually prepare for in order to benefit from the fasting. Based on this ayat, the scholars have identified that Ramadan is Shahrul Iman wa Taqwa. It is the month of faith and taqwa. It is the month of replenishing our faith and increasing our taqwa with Allah. So if you know this, you have to prepare for it. Huwa shahrul ummah. It is the month of the ummah. Wa huwa shahrul ukhuwwa. It is the month of brotherhood. Wa shahrul sadaqa wa tatawwu. It is the month of sadaqah and also doing good, giving good. You know, huwa shahrul tanqiyah. It is the month of purification, purifying ourselves physically and also spiritually. وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الْقُرْآنِ. It is the month of the Quran, شَهْرُ الذِّكْرِ وَالدُّعَاءِ. It is the month of remembering Allah and also praying to Him. وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الْأُسْرَةِ. And it is also the month of the family. أيضا وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الْإِتِقَافِ. It is also towards the end, the month in which you put yourself in seclusion, you and Allah alone, secluding yourself for Allah. وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الْخَيْرَاتِ كُلَّهَا. And it is the month of all goodness. And you find all these mentioned if you reflect over those ayatul Sawm that we are familiar with, that we listen to in Ramadan all the time. Now when the ulama say that Ramadan is Shahrul Ummah wa Shahrul Ukhuwwa, it is the month of the Ummah and the month of brotherhood. The responsibility of Ramadan, for you to know that it is the month of the Ummah, Allah addresses to everyone, all of the believers. Allah says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. Allah is addressing the Muslim Ummah. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Kama kutiba alal ladina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. We have made fasting obligatory for you as we made it before those coming. Allah didn't address this to us individually. And it is the month of the Ummah. And right from now, the khutbah I'm making today, in many Muslim countries, people will be making similar khutbah. Because everybody is looking forward to Ramadan. the Ummah is unified during the month of Ramadan. The missing might be maybe 1 day or 2 days, depending on the sighting of the moon. But by the time of Ramadan is 3, every Muslim, everywhere in the world, during the daytime will be fasting. Every Muslim. I mean, look at our salawat. It differs. Our salawat, when we are praying, others may not be praying, but in Ramadan, anywhere where it is daytime, Muslims will be fasting. So who are Shahrul Ummah? And it is the month of brotherhood, or huwa. We come, we see our brothers, we are happy, everybody. So think about this. What benefit can you do to the Ummah? Set time aside to make physical contribution to the Ummah in Ramadan. Because it is a month in which when you do one good deed, you get multiple reward for it. We should think about how you can develop the Muslim Ummah collectively and individually. So many things we can do. Because the harm, the rush will be so much. Clean the mosque. You can make in your mind that while in Ramadan, I will help in cleaning the mosque, keeping the toilet clean, keeping the carpets clean. You make this in your own mind that this is going to be my contribution for the Ummah. If you don't reflect over it and set time aside, you will not be able to do this. Allah tells us, وَأَتَصِّمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Allah says, all of you hold on to the rope of Allah and don't disperse, amongst yourselves. Ramadan provides us that authority. When we are all in the same act together, we are conscious of Allah, we are fasting for the sake of Allah, let us add that onto it as a good deed. So my dear brothers, in preparing for Ramadan, think of what good deed can you contribute to the Muslim Ummah, and what good deed can you contribute to your brother. Second, I want to reflect on, they call it the Shahrul Iman wa Shahrul Taqwa. It is the month of faith and the month of fear and God consciousness. And we know faith can increase and decrease. If you prepare well for Ramadan, by the time you fast 1, 2, 3, or maybe by the time you fast 5, your body will be telling you, your faith, inner you will be telling you whether you have actually done your Ramadan well. You will know where your faith is by the time you fast 5 of Ramadan. But you have to prepare for it. Don't take it for granted. It is the month, so you prepare yourself, not only physically, but also in faith and faithfully. And one important thing in relation to doing it faithfully, the ulama indicates it starts from first things first. And what do we mean by that? If you are somebody who has qada ayam or Ramadan, Ramadan al-Madi, if you have some fast to make up, you and Allah knows. If you because the Quran says, Man kana minkum maridan aw ala safarin fa iddatun min ayamin ukhra. If you missed some fast last year and you have not made it up till now, you could keep quiet about it. But your faith, if you really want to prepare your faith, the ulama says that you will look back. If you have any Ramadan missing, you make them up before you go into the next Ramadan. That is one of the important signs of you preparing your faith to enter Ramadan. Aisha radiallahu anha used to say, she said that she used to have some Ramadan on her, which she has not been able to pay until Sha'ban because of the service she provided for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in Sha'ban, she will make all of them up before Ramadan comes. And she told us as well that it is only in Ramadan that the Prophet will fast the whole month. But apart from Ramadan, the Prophet fasts much more in Sha'ban. Even if you don't have any missing fast that you need to make up, fasting a little bit in Sha'ban is sunnah to prepare you for Ramadan. And this is why the Prophet will fast a lot of the time, more than any other times of the month in Sha'ban before he enters Ramadan. So when we say to Shahrul Iman wa Taqwa, we have to start preparing, our faith and our God consciousness before you come into Ramadan. By doing that, we will have prepared well to get the best out of the month. Now, thirdly, it is called Shahru Sadaqa wa Tatawwu. Shahru Sadaqa wa Tatawwu. It is the month, when the month of charity, the month of giving. Allah tells us in the Quran, all this is found in the Quran. Allah tells us in the Quran, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُتِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. Allah says those who find it difficult to fast, or those who are able to do so, feed the miskin. Let them feed the poor in Ramadan. Allah says specifically, it's a very good deed, feed the poor, and if you do that, there's a lot of reward in it for you. You see, some may ask, some may not even ask at all. Try as much as possible to help. Do a lot of sadaqah in Ramadan. Do a lot of tadawwu, a lot of good and other good deeds. And Allah says it in the Quran, in those ayat as well. Allah says, فَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. Anybody who does any more good is better for him. So a lot of the time, when we look at these ayat, we only think about fasting. But there are so many other good things inside there, which actually will elevate our fast. But you cannot be able to achieve this except to prepare well for it. Don't say you have been fasting since you were born. Fasting comes anew every year. And the aim is to make the one for this year better than the one for last year. You know how you fasted the one for last year. Evaluate it and make up your mind that your preparation this year will be for you to be able to get the best out of Ramadan. May Allah make it easy for every one of us. And may Allah make our Ramadan meet us in good faith, inshallah. Ibadallah, astaghfiru rabbakum, innahu kana ghaffara. عباد الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In the second part of my khutbah, I will touch on two other things which Ramadan have been described with. We all know that this one I want to talk about is called Shahr al-Quran. Ramadan huwa Shahr al-Quran, because Allah described it. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Allah says it is one of the best attributes of Ramadan is that it's the month of the Quran. So we celebrate the Quran in Ramadan. In many mosques, including our mosque here, in our Taraweeh, we start from the beginning to the end, completing the whole Quran. That is doing it in Jama'ah in the night. What of in the daytime? Prepare to celebrate the Quran. At least, if you prepare and make up your mind that you want to finish the whole of the Quran, recitation of the whole of the Quran, you come to Taraweeh all the time, you hear the Quran recited completely in the night. But in the day, you also finish one. When you read one juzul every day, look at your time. There are some of us who have free time after Fajr in the morning. Calculate, it depends on how fast you can read. You can finish one juzul between 30 minutes and 1 hour. Calculate. If it is in the evening, maybe if it is during your lunch break, that is better for you, but you have to plan for it. If you don't plan for it, it will slip away. And there's a lot of reward in it. Do you know what the Prophet ﷺ said? The Prophet said for every alphabet that you recite in the Quran, you get 10 rewards. Look, subhanallah. So when you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, just Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim has 19 alphabets. So if you just say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, you have 190 rewards. What else do we want Allah to do for us? What else do we want Allah to do for us? So the Quran is there for us to be able to accrue a lot of rewards during Ramadan. And reflect over it, do tadabbur of the Quran. Not only reading it, read it and reflect over it. And in the hereafter, the Quran will be, an intercessor for you. The Prophet ﷺ says the Quran will intercede for anyone who recites it well here in this world. On the day of Qiyam and hereafter. To round it up, it is also Shahru Tanqiyah. It is generally a month of purification. We should work on it, on ourselves before Ramadan, to purify our souls and ourselves. Because the Prophet ﷺ said Allah does not need anything to do with somebody who only leaves his food and drink, and yet he doesn't purify himself. He is involved in al-fasha. He says bad things. So it's really important for us to reflect over this so that we can prepare well for Ramadan. To round up, I want to narrate to you on hadith by Ka'b ibn Ujra رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said one day the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was coming to the minbar and he said, Uqduru. He told the people, come near, because the Prophet used to do that. People were sitting about, he said, come near the minbar. And he said, Fahadarna. You know, Ka'b said, and we came. فَلَمَّا ارْتَقَى دَرَجَةً قَالَ آمين. He also has steps, about 3 steps to get to the minbar. When he put his foot on the first steps, nobody heard anything, but the Prophet said, Ameen. And he said, فَلَمَّا ارْتَقَى دَرَجَةً ثَانِيَةً. And when he put his foot on the second step, he again said, Ameen. فَلَمَّا ارْتَقَى دَرَجَةَ الثَّالِثَةَ قَالَ آمين. And when he put his foot on the third step, he said, Ameen. فَلَمَّا نَزَلَ. And when the Prophet finished the prayer and he came down, قُلْنَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. We said, O Messenger of Allah, لَقَدْ سَمِعْنَا مِنْكَ الْيَوْمِ شَيْئًا مَا كُنَّا نَسْمَعُهُ. We have heard from you today something that we never heard. You know, he says, why you said Ameen? Ameen, Ameen. You don't do this. And the Prophet called. The Prophet said, Inna Jibreel arada li. He said, when I was getting on the minbar, Jibreel came to me, faqal. And the Prophet said, Ba'uda man adraka Ramadan falam yukfara lahu. Qultu Ameen. The Prophet said, Jibreel told me, wow, anybody who Ramadan meets in the world in a year and he doesn't benefit from it, you know, he has been cast away. Anybody who Ramadan meets and he doesn't get the best of it, he's a person who is a loser. And I said, Ameen. You know, and he said, فَلَمَّا رَقَيْتُ الثَّانِيَةَ قَالَ بَعُدَ مَنْ ذُكِّرْتَ عِنْدَهُ فَلَمْ يُصَلِّ عَلَيْكَ. He said, well, anybody where your name, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is mentioned and he doesn't send salawat to you, you know, he has also been cast away. And I said, Ameen. And he said, فَلَمَّا رُقَيْتُ الثَّالِثَةَ. When I step on the third, قال بعد من أدرك أبويه القدير عنده أو أحدهما فلم يدخله الجنة. He said, he has the person who had 2 of his parents get old in his lifetime, or one of them, and he did not enter Jannah through them, has lost everything. And I said, Ameen. So you see these 3 things. My important point is Ramadan. The Prophet said, anyone who Ramadan meets on earth and he does not accrue the goodness of it, he has lost everything. And for you to be able to do that, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we need to prepare for it. May Allah make it easy for us, inshallah, and may Allah give us the ability to be able to accrue all the goodness in Ramadan. Before we do the dua, we have a few announcements. عافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك سبحانك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك فإنه لا يذل من وعليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأقم الصلاة.
ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم